You're supposed to put it on you on the outside a little bit at a time.
Are we? Did you?
And that's the Pixel Scandal Nerdcast. Welcome everybody.
Oh, hi. We're live. We're live now.
We're live.
Is that the thing we're doing?
Don't drink it, put it on you. Is the message of today. Welcome, friends, to the Pixel Scandal Nerdcast.
Hi.
Today we're going to talk about stuff and things. So yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Well, end of line. Do we have any announcements tonight?
Do we want to introduce everybody? They know
Oh yeah,
who they
I
are.
guess we could do that.
Do they know who we are?
No.
I don't
No?
know who I am.
I'm not
I
sure.
don't
Who
Who are you people?
Where am I? I'm Kurt.
What am I doing?
I play a lot of role-playing games, and to my right here or left, your left, my right, is End of line. End of line. How you doing today?
Very tired and sleepy.
And it looks like you're partially ghost and phasing into the world of Sparkle Ponies.
It's
Yep.
so good.
What?
Sparkle ponies.
Yeah, you're a sparkle pony.
His chroma key is eating your hat and your beard, and so you're fading in and out of Sparkle Ponies.
All right. Well, while I work on that, Night Sun, how are you doing today?
Enjoying the high level of quality and technical prowess that we bring every week.
Every week.
If you fix the hat, leave the beard.
All right. So I brought the chroma key down, and now it just looks like you have sheets on your chair and behind you,
It does. It
And
looks
they are
like,
made of Sparkle
because
Ponies.
the shadows are
it
still
looks
there.
like a little kid's bedroom.
Yeah, it's
That's
amazing. It looks like,
Broadcasting live from some child's bedroom.
oh, it's so
Don't
good.
ask where they've gone.
It's so good.
You're gonna get us all
God.
put on a list somewhere.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yep. There you go.
Out of an episode from Supernatural.
Yeah.
oh, it's too good. All right, Orestes, how you doing tonight?
Doing okay. Looking at things.
He's
What?
got boba. That's not fair.
Who has
Who has
boba?
boba?
Looked like you had boba.
Me? This is not boba. This is tea. This is regular tea.
I love boba.
Some regular ass tea.
Ass tea. We don't want any
Regular
ass tea.
is regular ass black tea.
It needs tapioca and a lot of sugar in it.
There you go.
I don't like tapioca. It's all slimy. It's like eating boogers. Well, I like tapioca and pudding. I don't like boba.
I
and
thought
tea.
you were gonna say, but I like. Oh wait, but I like boogers.
I don't know. I like it. It's good.
My own, because I
Go
know where they've been.
Moving right along with the introductions here.
Yeah, Gidget, how you feeling tonight?
Good. Great. Tired, like everyone
Liar.
else,
Okay,
but for a
there
different
we
reason.
It's not like we did a bunch of stuff today.
Totally didn't do anything today.
Stop being adults and responsible.
I know there's people to murder.
There's people to murder.
And Aristas is gone.
And Anthropodium is
And your
gone.
buddy was gone.
Andor, how you doing tonight?
He just got paroled out of county jail.
Oh, good.
I know, man, that
And
orange
he
shirt.
did not
dude.
have an opportunity to change. before
Well,
the
the story. Well, they didn't have a change of clothes for him. They arrested him naked.
Oh.
I'm
He
still-
was,
yeah,
he
I'm
was
still
streaking
waiting.
once again.
I'm still waiting to see the magistrate or whatever they call that before you go in.
Oh, okay.
Mm,
Yeah.
public
No,
urination for the third time.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I'm doing very well. I'm tired, like the majority of everybody else. We've been playing a game, which we'll talk about later. But
Yep.
I
Way
think
too much.
I think
Yeah.
collectively between 3 or 4 of us here, we've had probably 6 hours sleep. I would say that's a conservative estimate.
Yeah.
I actually got quite a bit of sleep last night.
Yeah, that one
No,
slept
I'm
quite a
saying-
bit, and I could not get him out of bed to be helpful today. So,
That's why I specifically said three of us.
Yeah.
Wait, I only slept a few hours last night. I went had to step away to get a 5 hour.
Well, our topic tonight is what is our topic tonight? Our topic tonight is what do you get out of role playing?
Something
Yeah.
to do with games.
We're going to discuss types of games and
What do you
the
get out of
systems
role
that-
playing in the bedroom?
Yay!
Sometimes some of the same things.
No.
Sometimes.
No. That's not where we're going
No,
with this.
no.
But
I'm
before
all
that-
about the tactical combat involved.
I've gotten so much XP in the bedroom. You
I'm
guys.
gonna,
Crit.
I'm gonna need you to lay
Mine's
down
all
and
about
roll for
strategy.
initiative.
But before we get to that sexy
You
topic,
gotta get around behind her and get that flanking bonus.
No. Moving. X
Moving-
card.
moving
X
right
card.
before we can get to that sexy topic, we're gonna go ahead and get into those announcements Gidget talked about earlier.
Yeah. End of line. You want to jump on that X card? Do you want to jump on that? Those announcements there.
Yeah. So tomorrow our stream is gonna be part 2 of Sexy Brutal, which I am going to do everything I can to be a part of because it looked amazing and I was gone.
It was a brutally sexy game.
It looks real. It does look actually really amazing.
Sorry, go ahead.
Mhm.
I was just gonna say, did you
What?
did you watch? Did you watch Kurt controlling the character? Because it was
That
painful.
was-
Oh, okay.
that was
It was
painful.
It was.
That was painful.
It made me want to reach through the fucking screen. And
Do you guys know
Y'all
how
are
hard it
welcome to
was?
drive the mouse.
Do you guys know how hard it was to sit next to him and not slap him? Like,
Okay.
I'm on screen and I'm like, don't hit him. Don't hit him.
Hey,
We have an audience.
You know what?
Don't hit
So
him.
3 of
my random
two of
clicking
us
on
have
shit worked
kids.
because we found out them fishes were important.
Your
That is
Honor,
true.
I feel it was completely justified. The video evidence proves it.
Yes,
Two
if you
of-
just
two
check
of
the
us
tape.
have had kids for a long time, and Mike, you now are inheriting kids.
Yeah.
I don't
Oh,
know
yeah.
if you've experienced this yet.
Yeah.
But playing video games with a younger child
Mm-hmm.
and not
Is maddening.
grabbing the fucking controller. Like, I
Yes.
need you to jump there. I need you to jump there. Okay, that's
Yep.
okay. I need you to jump. I need you to jump.
Stop clicking things. Just stop clicking. Don't click
No,
any.
I've had-
Why are you clicking things?
I've had the opposite problem. We had to institute a rule in Diablo 3 that you are not allowed to change your gear or open a menu unless we're in town.
I can understand that. sanity
Yeah.
rule.
No, definitely.
July 14th at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time is part 4 of Dungeon World.
Yay.
Tune in if you
Woo.
want. There haven't been as many hats as I was promised.
You know, I'm surprised. I think it's because he just doesn't like the head wrap situation. Like he was expecting different
I don't
hats.
know what the problem is. I am wearing 2 hats simultaneously.
That's true.
However, if you like murdering children, then Gidget will provide you that entertainment. So
No one,
you
no
can
one
tune in
has
for that
murdered.
instead of hats.
No one has murdered children. You're fine.
She tried.
Yet.
She tried. She just failed. That was the problem. She failed in her intent. And then
I
when
have no
we
comment.
find time, Dead by Daylight. We're gonna be streaming some more Dead by Daylight tonight. Probably pretty quickly
Oh, cool.
after the stream if I can stay awake.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah, and then that's what we've got going on, guys. So
Cool.
tomorrow, Sexy Brutal, and then July 14th is Dungeon World Episode 4.
Nice.
Yeah. And I've been actually. I'll save this for what have we been playing recently.
What are we excited about, guys?
Wow, someone had a lot of fun with the colors on the spreadsheet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we have, obviously, we have a document that we put all of our information in for every show, and someone took the time to put every letter in this word a different color for the amount of excitement that they have about this topic. Orestes, would you like to tell us what it is that we're excited about for this week?
Pride Day.
Oh, is that what the rainbow's for?
It is.
No,
it is the last
fireworks.
day of
Pride
Pride,
Month.
so
It is a rainbow.
stay classy, friends.
Fireworks.
Fireworks.
Explosions.
Fireworks.
Controlled explosions.
Fireworks.
And sometimes less than controlled.
No, it's always controlled. I'm always in control.
Yeah, that is factual.
That is my job.
If you were here, you would know she's telling the truth.
Yes, this coming week is the 4th of July. And as I've mentioned previously, I am a pyrotechnician. And so 3 of us will be doing two big professional fireworks shows this coming week, which will be very exciting and amazing. And hopefully somebody will videotape it and we'll post it online after we do the show so you can see what we did.
Woo! Yeah, baby.
Yeah. Which is exciting. Yay, fireworks.
Woohoo!
Yay.
The thing I'm excited about is, also besides fireworks, because always totes excited, is the Critical Role Kickstarter. So Critical Role, the RPG streaming thing, did a Kickstarter for all of the minis from both campaigns. The first campaign, which was Vox Machina, and the newest campaign, which is the Mighty Nine. And they have a Kickstarter for all of the minis from that campaign, and we backed it. So yeah, that's it. Funded in less than like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And their like goal was $26,000. They're currently at like almost $800,000.
Yeah.
And you get a lot of minis for like $60. So
I'm most excited about Pumat Soul and Pumat Prime.
Yes.
The Furbolg Enchanters and his Simulacrum.
Yes.
Related, unrelated, something I would suggest checking out if you're kind of wanting to check out live streaming D&D. They did a run of Curse of Strahd on Dice Camera Action with Chris Perkins.
Classic.
Definitely worth checking out. If you Google Dice Camera Action, you'll find it.
With who? Chris Perkins?
Yeah, the
Why does that
writer
name
of
sound
the
familiar?
mod.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wrote the mod.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, Chris Perkins is
He GMs it.
pretty awesome GM. He's done all of the what are the name of those? The Acquisitions Incorporated. He's done
Okay,
all those.
that's where I know the name from.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's worked for WotC for a long time.
Okay.
I think he's
Yeah,
like their head
there's a
of story.
particular person, Holly, and she plays a
Holly
character named
Conrad?
Strix. Dude, she
so
plays
awesome.
Strix. It's amazing.
Yeah.
She's like one of my favorite characters. I kind of watch to just watch her roleplay Strix.
Right? Just trash wizard all day long.
Yeah, dude, it's funny.
Nice. Awesome. Well, let's move right along to what have we been recently playing, guys?
Yeah. Oh, I was going to mention something I'm excited about, but it also will go into what I want to play soon. I got version 3.2 of the Kickstart rules for Cartel, which
Cartel?
Handler, if you backed it like you said you did, you would have got those too.
I did.
Check your email.
I got it.
Yeah, I'm super excited about that one. I kind of want to run a one shot. However, I might change the name of the cartels just in case, because we're putting this on the internet and I don't want to get shot. So, because like the game lists the actual cartels and talks about them and stuff, but no, I am brave.
They use legit cartel names.
I ain't brave.
Yeah,
man. I ain't
they
got
talk
it.
about it's the Sinelo. God damn it. Anyways, they talk about the different cartels and like what they're like, and the game takes place in Durango, which is on the border of these two warring cartels.
Yeah.
Dude, it's so good. So
It
excited.
does fun. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Nice.
And you're on that West Coast creep, so you got. I mean, you
We have to
worry
actually
about
be
shit.
worried.
I got to
Yeah,
be careful,
I'm-
man.
I'm chilling up in
Even John
up in
Oliver,
Michigan,
His
so.
his head's gonna end up on a tortoise.
right? No, even John Oliver. I was watching a recent last weekend tonight, and he's talking about the cartels, and he puts up a picture, and he starts saying that it's so and so head of whatever cartel, and then he's like, but then again, no, I'm not that brave because that's not really him. Do you think I'm crazy? This is a stock photo. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome.
not about that.
Well,
Yep.
cool.
Not something I'm personally excited about, but I thought Gordon would be excited about.
Okay.
And I don't know if he's aware of this. There's a Kickstarter for a board game that I think the name is horrible, but it's called Evil Core. Have you guys seen that? Have y'all watched the Kickstarter? So it is a game in the future where you're playing the tech titan industry CEO for a corporation in the tech-owned future, and you're basically at war with the other tech leaders of the industry.
Okay.
So it's kind of like Shadowrun, where you're playing the CEO of the corporation against the other corporations.
Okay.
And it looks kind of interesting, actually. It's about influence and intent.
That's awesome. I actually
Yeah,
I backed a board game recently. It's only 4 players though, but it's basically a side scroller beat 'em up.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah, I backed it. So you get
Okay.
you have levels and you have the picture and you
Well, that's Evil Corp.
Oh, Evil Corp. Okay. Yeah, the side scroller beat 'em up one looks crazy because you play basically like Street Fighter characters, and then you have to move on the squares, and the thing moves, and if you get knocked off the back, you die.
Yeah, I saw that.
So the rule book on this Kickstarter literally has on the front how to be evil.
Nice.
I will definitely have to look into this.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's
Well-
the title of my autobiography.
Well,
Oh,
I was gonna switch topics, but keep going.
so on the topic of what we've been playing, we were kind of hinting at it a moment ago, but we've been playing way too much Dead by Daylight. In any reasonable person's assessment of way too much, we have definitely. That Steam sale, $10. It is super great fun.
100% worth $10.
Considering the disappointment that was Friday the 13th, this is a breath of fresh air.
It's a breath of
Which
fresh
is
air.
$60.
It's a breath of fresh ass.
It's a breath of fresh air.
I'm looking forward to playing it with you guys someday. Hopefully, very soon. I will actually get to play it. 'Cause
Dude, I
that
got the-
is
I'm looking
so
forward
much
to you
fun.
playing the Rabbit Killer, so you can go.
I know. I'm so excited.
She literally does that whenever she's coming to kill you. That's how you know she's around.
Oh my god! I can't wait to
She
play it.
starts.
It's so when she hooks you and throws you up on the hook, she just sits there and goes like this.
Oh, I
With
can't wait
bunny
to
ears.
play it. I
It's the
can't wait.
creepiest fucking shit I've ever seen. while humming.
Nice. Very nice.
Mhm.
On the topic, not really played, but I finally got through the newest Dresden compilation, Briefcases, came out. I don't know if you guys have got around to it yet.
I'm like
Katie's
halfway through.
Gidget's working her way through.
I'm so
I have not
excited.
started it yet. I have not had a chance to start it yet.
It did not have the key story in it that I got out of the original one,
Uh-oh.
and we lost Andor.
Andor, get your ass back in here, man.
Oh, now it's getting worse.
Uh-oh. Now we've lost Orestes.
That's not good.
Oh,
well,
knows?
just keep talking. You're still on screen, technically.
All right,
Yeah.
perfect. I'm
You
now
are.
Gidget. So, ignoring the technical difficulties, it missed the kind of the story that I really, really wanted that the short cases had, which was the Warrior.
Okay.
Bombshells was good. I don't know if you've got that far yet, Katie.
I don't think so. I'm through the 3 Sasquatch stories. And
Those were a lot better than I expected. I was.
I was very pleasantly surprised with how good the specifically the third one was really good. I think we're getting a hand door back here. Slowly.
Just a heads up, level 3, which is like the biggest ISP backbone in our country, has been having serious outages in the last couple of days.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
support Comcast and lots of major ISPs, so
My Discord just decided to update and restart.
Oh.
Nice. Well, so did Orestes's. So
Yeah,
you're
as
not
soon as we
alone.
get him back, everybody's a little wonky right now. We'll get there.
But anyways, it was worth the read.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree. I've definitely enjoyed what I've read so far.
I definitely want to discuss Bombshells and the subsequent story with you though once you've gone through it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm definitely excited to chat it up about that because it was good. I so far the like 4 that I've read have been really good. So yeah, absolutely.
Hey, D.
Holy crap!
wow. The wheelchair throwback.
I know.
I
know
have
what to
infiltrated
say.
your stream and wanted to wish you guys a good luck. Ah.
Yay, D! Hi.
Welcome, D.
Old friends. Yay.
We are doing role playing, and if we're role playing that game, you have a major sexy crush on me.
Absolutely. Well, awesome. Well, Kurt, do you want to give us an update on how JackerCon went
Yeah, I
and
kinda-
your game and what you played in and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of want to get Orestes back in here so that the cams aren't all wonky, but
I mean, you're sort of in your square.
yeah, I'm in my square. It's fine. This is
fine.
fine. We have a nice zoomed in view of Night Sun's neck, though. Like,
your forehead is Handor, and your neck is.
if you had hamburger
Ladies,
meat hanging out, it
that
would be on
night's
full
on
display.
cleavage.
That Nights on Cleavage. I hope
Control yourself.
this is the kind of quality content you can expect from this channel. So if you're new,
Come on, it's been fine
Cleavage for views, guys. Cleavage for views.
today.
all right. So yeah. So I'll just talk about JackerCon. There's an online convention that was started by some fans of the Happy Jacks RPG podcast. It went for like 3 or 4 years, a few times a year, but it was pretty sporadic. It started out on Google Plus, and then when Google Plus decided they were gonna, and Hangouts decided they were gonna change the way things worked, me and another, actually it was mostly another guy, did the coding for the site, and I did the design of the site. And so we made a website for JackerCon so people could go and sign up for games. And I had actually played in 3 games in the most recent JackerCon, which actually ends tomorrow. I don't know if there's any games left scheduled, because people can schedule them whenever they like. But I ran a Savage Worlds game, which is Nuclear Night School, which is a Savage Worlds setting of my own creation. And that game went really well, except that we went a little long, and I unfortunately had to narrate the last little bit. But everybody seemed to have a really good time. It is 80s with magic, and magic is thoroughly mundane. Just everybody has it, but it sort of colors everything in their lives. And it's that romanticized 80s, right? Like a mixture of Gem and the Holograms and Atomic Blonde, like the 80s we remember, not the 80s that happened. The 1980s.
We got to play test this for you about 8 months ago.
Yeah.
It was a while back, and it is very 80s. With the 80s archetype high school personalities and everything.
Yeah. The characters, I kind of broke up. I took some inspiration from Powered by the Apocalypse and broke things up a little bit. So you have a class, but it's basically just your starting edges, and then you have a background or a clique. So you're either a rebel, a preppy, an outcast, a jock, or a geek. And those kind of determine your edges and hindrances that you start with. And then the classes are they're sort of based on the 4 gods of the setting. And it's like your typical archetypes.
Yeah, it's Breakfast Club tabletop RPG with magic.
Yeah, I like to say St. Elmo's Fireball.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so that was the first game for my JackerCon, and that one went great. And then I played in a Bedlam Hall game with Lokio and Gold and a few other people. It was really fun. It was a little more slapsticky than I think the GM wanted it to be, but it was as slapsticky as we wanted it to be, because we all went a little nuts with it. Like the premise of that game is it's Downton Abbey meets Addams Family. Like, it's very, there's weird shit happening, but you are like uptight servants in a manner.
It is probably the most fun PBTA I've ever played in, and it's fantastic. I love that setting.
Mostly because it was chaos personified.
It is, yeah, it is chaos personified, which is amazing. And then we're like, oh, cool, it's Victorian era. Like, let's put chaos in a. It's fun. I liked it.
Yeah. So so we played that. I played the butler, and my secret was that I had died 2 days ago, and no, I didn't smell, and you should do well not to mention it. That was my secret. That was a fun game. And then Thursday night I played The Final Girl, which is super fun. It's it's a story game, so it's GM-less. Everyone
is it based off the movie, out of curiosity?
It lets you tell stories that are slasher fix, right? So each person takes turns being either the director or the killer. After a certain number of scenes, you switch from being the director to the killer. And everyone else picks from a group of characters that everybody creates collaboratively. And each scene, you just sort of pick, like, oh, well, I think this character and this character would be in this scene. And then during the scene, the killer can attack the characters and kill them. And when one person is left in a scene, the scene ends. Or rather, that we used carnage rules because we were running long. So it's always one person left in the end of a scene. But that was super fun because it was. Then again, it got a little more slapsticky. But we had a tone conversation about tone at the beginning of the game, and so that sort of helped keep us on track. Because so at the beginning of the game, you can pull randomly from a list of, because it all uses cards. So you pull randomly from a list of 52 sort of adventure starters. And one of them was, we are mice being hunted by a deadly cat. But it turned out that people didn't want it to be that cheesy. So, get it? Cheesy.
I don't get it.
So we ended up going with, we were missionaries. And there was a demon chasing us that had been unearthed. And it was really fun. It was neat, like getting to switch back and forth and jump between characters. And one of the neat mechanics is, at the end of each scene, you establish relationships between the characters. So you can either have a friendship, be rivals, or you can be screwing the characters. And when you go to draw cards in combat, when the killer attacks you, you get a number of cards equal to the number of relationships you have. Because if you don't have any relationships, obviously you haven't had any screen time and nobody cares about you. So you can die easy, right? It's easy to kill you off. So it was kind of a neat way to reinforce that, like, the characters who've had the most narrative weight get the most plot armor. So that was kind of neat.
Okay.
But yeah, that's what I've been playing recently.
Cool.
All right. Are we going to get Orestes back in here, or do I need to start messing with the overlay?
I don't know.
All right. So
Might be restarting his computer or something.
yeah, you guys go ahead.
Let's take a break, like 2-minute break, and then figure it out.
D says good night, everyone.
Oh, night D.
Good night,
See you,
G.
D.
Good night.
All right. So let's see. Do I have my pause screen ready?
We're gonna just take a real quick break, hopefully get Orestes back, and then we'll be right back.
Yeah.
Yay.
All right. Sorry about that, folks. So we're a little bit better here. So welcome back.
Yay!
Okay, so
Great.
Yeah.
So moving right along, let's just right back into our spotlight topic for the evening, which is part 3 of our intro to role playing. And tonight's topic is, what do you get out of role playing? Nightson, you want to kind of
Sure.
take the helm?
So, kind of based off our discussion last week, which is finding the right system for you. You know, kind of what game, what genre, what even system it fits your kind of what you're looking for. We figured we break it down a little bit further than just the role versus ROLE playing, and into kind of what you're looking for in a given game. What do you find fun? What do you enjoy? And by that, what kind of games you might look for to fulfill that. Ultimately, it comes down to what the players, the person running it, all agree is what you want. Ultimately, you're all going to disagree, and you're going to want 6 different things. And so you kind of need to find something that caters to everyone a little bit, one way or the other. But we're just going to touch on a couple points and hopefully, give some ideas.
Cool.
So first off, we have, and some of these are going to fit more into the ROLE, some of these are going to fall more into the ROLL, and some kind of bridge the gap. First one is definitely an ROLE. It is a combat simulation. We kind of discussed it earlier in jest, but it is the tactical, trying to figure out how to beat your enemy, playing on a map. You see a lot of this in board or war games pretty frequently, but there are a handful of RPGs that do account for this as well. Most D&Ds, especially 4th edition, or anything that you can use minis in a mat, really kind of scratches that itch.
Right. Well, and I think even within D&D, specific, like, different iterations of it tackle more of the combat simulator than even the other iteration. Like, 4th edition is so much more a combat simulator than, like, 5th edition is. Even though 5th still is, it's 4th is even more so than 5th.
5th rides a more balanced line between the other aspects of tabletop than 4th. 4th is very combat driven.
Right.
I would agree, but at its heart, D&D is either a game about fighting things to make yourself stronger, or getting loot to make yourself stronger, depending on the edition.
Absolutely. Which is why it feels so much like a combat simulator, even if you are trying to roleplay a lot in it, because it's very much about get the piece to get stronger, to make yourself better, so you can fight better, so you can get more stuff, so you can fight better. It's
Right.
definitely.
It's just where the majority of the rules of the game live.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But it has been proven, especially in the last few years, that systems can be successful and a lot of fun with very light combat or no combat at all. I think the Theater of the Mind game, the role ROLE heavy gameplay, and the immersive gameplay is getting a lot stronger, and
Absolutely.
it can be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and in fact, there's a lot of systems that really put the emphasis on that style of play, and a lot more of the rules are about that part of the game.
Yep.
I think the next one that we have on here is strategy, and I think that one definitely comes with combat simulators as well.
But it's not necessarily tied to just being combat simulation. It could be anything where you have objectives or goals, and you have some limited resource in which to accommodate them. It might be time.
We're about to interrogate this guy. How do we want to approach this to get the information that we need in a role play setting? Like, your characters are having a discussion about strategizing how you want to engage this setting. That's strategy. It's not necessarily combat. But,
True.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Strategy, yeah, I have to assume
Time.
strategy can. Yeah. I was gonna say I have to assume strategy can encompass so many things socially, physically, several aspects of just everyday life that you would that you could apply in the same realm of RPG.
I think a big one that a lot of, not just D&D, but a lot of other systems do is the strategy of expending your materials, whether that's arrows or the number of spells you have or whatever your materials are that you have to use. I think that I mean D&D for sure, but other systems do it as well, where you have to kind of manage the strategy of, okay, with like 4th edition D&D, you have dailies, you have at-wills, and you have encounters, and it's like, okay, is this the point where I expel my dailies, or do I need to save them for something else? And so kind of strategizing how to use those materials is, part of that strategy as well. Not just how to solve the problem, but also using your resources.
And it even goes further. You can even strategize plans. Like I can't name a game offhand aside from like Blades in the Dark or the much lesser known Runners in the Shadow, where you can strategize plans. It's a heist. I don't know anything inherently a system that's built for heisting, but you do this, you do that.
Game developers, did you hear that?
I'm sure if Kurt looks 3 seconds in his list of games, he'll have one. But
I'm sorry. Wait, sorry. I was trying to get Orestes back in here. What was the question?
A heist-oriented game.
Oh, well, I mean, Blades in the Dark. So I heard you mention it.
Okay.
Yeah, I heard you mention it, so
He was
that's why I didn't
definitely
add to it.
spaced
If you really want something that's focused on heists, I mean, Blades is the game. That's
So
it's written specifically for that.
So something that I really enjoyed about Shadowrun was definitely the heist aspect of it. I did not think that I was going to like that system because I'm not a huge fan of cyberpunk. Not that I mean I don't have anything against it. It's just not my favorite like genre to play. But Shadowrun is definitely a heist game where you have to plan out how you're going to do what's set in front of you and what resources you're going to need to be able to accomplish that goal. And
I feel really dumb for actually not realizing. Yes, that is the iconic strategy game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Corporate espionage requires quite a bit of planning.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
well,
Yeah.
Most cyberpunk games, I think, focus on this like score mentality, right? Where you're meant to go in, achieve a goal, and come back out, hopefully without getting murdered in the process. But so if I just Blades has the rules to support it. It has the procedure for that. But there are a lot of games that could handle it. I think games that allow you, games that focus on preparation are gonna be really good there. Anything that sort of focuses on setting up your crew, setting up the mission, and then the actual mission itself can be a smaller part of the session. I mean, in a Shadowrun game, you might plan for 2.5 hours and then have an hour-long heist, and that's your game.
And honestly, I mean, that's the thing that I enjoyed most about Shadowrun was the strategy of planning the planning out the mission, planning how we were going to succeed, how we were going to do whatever it was that was set before us. So yeah.
Moving on to the next one is exploration. And this is more the story or experience-driven style. You might go to explore a new land, a people, or even a new plot point. From my experience, this is pretty setting agnostic. Anything can really fit this. It's really just about whether or not your DM, GM, Master of Ceremonies is willing to put in the effort to actually provide that for you.
I do think... Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say one system that comes to mind that really pushes this is Traveler, because traveling, moving to different systems, different worlds, is the game, and so you can get variations on the theme very easily, and kind of get that aspect of the game out of the game without too much DM work.
Yeah, I mean, I think if anybody's taken a look at the Traveler PDF, I mean, they've got so much in there for exploration, and there are whole websites dedicated to the entire solar system that's laid out in Traveler, and you can click through and look at the different planets and the different areas and how long it would travel from one place to another, and I think exploration is such a big part of that, of Traveler as a system.
And I mean, any game that says or references sandbox play is going to be good for this. Stars Without Number has a lot of Traveler elements in it, and specifically there are a lot of tools in the book to help you build out the world as a whole and build out, basically, it's a hex crawl. Handler, do we need to explain hex crawl? Is that
Yes, you
okay?
do.
So on a map of hexes that are numbered across the top and along the side, you would have points of interest in different hexes. And the distance to travel the hexes may vary depending on the game, of course. But as you travel through these hexes, you learn more about what's in them and what sort of things are there. You take that information back, or you use that information and go forward. And it's about exploring those hexes and finding out what's in there. Stars Without Number has a lot of rules to handle building hexes, and I mean, of course, they're star systems and planets, but it does the same thing. There's also a style of game referred to as West Marches. That's like a style of play, which is very much this hex crawl exploration type of game, where at the end of the game, everyone has to come back to town and then share their information they got, and then they go back out again.
We actually played a game, and I think this goes along with what Nightsun was saying, where almost any system can be an exploration game, even though there's some systems that probably do it better than others. In our home role-playing game that we're playing, What's in the Box, it started with us on an island, and when we landed, Kurt was the GM, and he kind of handed us this hex grid that was like, okay, so this is the island you're on, where do you want to go? And as we kind of moved through it, we were like, okay, so in this hex area there's a volcano, and so we explored the volcano, and then it was okay, in this hex area there's a shrine, and so as we kind of moved around this island, we were able to build this physical map of this is what's in each hex, and so it kind of filled that, like Kurt said, this hex crawl type thing where we moved from hex to hex and were able to explore the island, and eventually we had a whole map that was laid out of, oh, this is the whole island and this is where everything is on it and that kind of thing. So and that was in Savage Worlds. So I mean, like Nightsun said, some systems do it better than others, but really any system can support like a sandbox hex crawl exploration game.
Really what you're looking for is, if you're looking for a system that you want, if you don't care about the system but you want that style of play, you're looking for a game that is going to incentivize exploration. So there's a lot of rules, or not so much crunchy, or like it doesn't have to be bogged down, like the rules don't have to be difficult, but the game should address the different parts of exploration so that you're engaging the game along the journey rather than just making it up as you go or having to add on subsystems. On top of that, you should be rewarded for exploration, right? The experience mechanic of the game should be able to reward you for the things that you want the game to be about.
I think that actually goes into the next thing that Nightsun has here.
Yeah.
Next one is Discovery, which is in itself very similar to exploration, but it tends to deal with a lot more with the crunchy bits. Mm-hmm. The new power, the new spell, the new level, some new piece of gear or something different to change who your character is, change how you interact with the world.
Yeah.
And basically any game that has a decent leveling mechanic kind of falls into this. It's weird because you don't really notice it until it's absent. And that's just something I found a large problem with the Fate system, which was the leveling in it did not feel rewarding. It was very slow coming. The differences that came along the process just didn't provide any mechanical difference to how you played your character or anything different. And so it did create a difference than I was used to.
Absolutely. I mean, and that part of that discovery, like you said, is finding new spells. Kind of one of my favorite things about some of the like D&D type games I've played is where the wizard can't just at a level take a spell. They have to find a scroll or a book or whatever, and they have to actually like study it to learn the spell. And I kind of like it when a GM takes that style of play where learning new stuff comes from discovery, that they actually put it into the world. Or if somebody's supposed to have an animal companion, they don't just like, okay, I have a bear now or whatever. It's like, no, you hear this scratching sound and you open the door and there's like this little direwolf puppy on the ground that grows up with you as your character is leveling. So does your animal companion. And even though the stats on your table, yeah.
Game of Thrones. Go ahead. Whatever.
Right. No, exactly. I mean, it wasn't just like, okay, they have puppies. It was like they found the puppies, right? That was a reward. That was something they discovered through storytelling. Mm-hmm. And so I like it when not just like, oh, you found a piece of gear that's going to make you stronger. Like, that's cool too, but also adding story to the way your character is leveling with the mechanics of the game, but also bringing it into the storytelling part of it as well.
Yeah, I agree. And, I mean, progression can come in many different ways. Like, you can have mechanical progression where you're gaining levels or you're gaining new abilities. Mm-hmm. And you can also have narrative progression, right, where your character is gaining more influence or becoming a more powerful force in the world in the fiction. But I think the basis of that is, does something on your sheet change? I mean, and I think for progression, for me, if I'm interested in the progression of the game, something has to happen on my character sheet. Like, it can't just be something narrative. Like, I want it to be on my character sheet.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like in Savage Worlds, once you get to a certain level in Savage Worlds, progression switches from character to story. Because at low levels, like before around 80 or 90 XP in Savage Worlds, it's like you're getting every 5 XP. It's like, okay, I'm going to take this edge. I'm going to take this new ability or this new spell or something. But then once you get up to a certain point in Savage Worlds, it's like, I'm not even going to level. Like, I'm sitting on 50 or 60 experience. I have nothing to get because I don't really need anything on my character sheet. And then it just becomes, story progression instead of like character sheet progression.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, and I, like I said earlier, like, I love it when GMs kind of take that, like, oh, a person says, hey, for my character, I'm planning on taking this thing, and then they somehow work it into like the next game, that there's a story behind why you were able to get whatever that thing was that you wanted to receive. Or sometimes things happen in the game that you're like, well, I guess I should spend some XP to take whatever that thing is. I personally had a character who, through long story, got blessed by some gods, and she didn't have any magical powers at all, but I went ahead and spent several level ups taking Miracle and kind of becoming this magical paladin, paladin ranger type character, because the story dictated that's where my character was going. Not dictated, but, led my character down that way. And so I took the necessary level ups to make the story and my character kind of match each other. What are you laughing about?
Oh, Goro is asking if Endo is living a life of vengeance.
I don't get it.
All right, so moving on is I'm sure some people here's favorite, which is character drama.
Yay, character drama!
So
and it's not necessarily a negative thing.
Why is it a negative thing at all?
It's not necessarily a negative thing. See, I was like, yeah, we're getting to the positive stuff now.
Yeah, it says one of the two people who were always in drama with each other.
We are very good friends in the Dungeon & Note game. It's a first in our very long friendship that our characters like each other, but it's not always. There's not always animosity there.
So, character drama is about the kind of the deep exploration of who your character is, why they fit into this world, and how they choose to interact with the world, the people around them, etc. It's a lot more freeform and not narrative based. It's a lot more just sitting around and interacting with those around you. And I think we mentioned this last week. It's very key to have the opportunity and time to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So systems that are very objective based or time sensitive don't really allow for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and actually, that's one of the issues that I had when we played Blades in the Dark, and when I ran it, is that I got too caught up in the procedural part of it and forgot about the drama. So there's
What the hell was that with your voice?
yeah,
Burped.
I burped and it stuck in the back of my throat. I forgot about the drama.
Yeah, that was crazy.
So anyways, something I would add back into that game is I would put in a lot more free play, and so that drama could show through. But games that really shine for character drama are things that focus more on, where a lot more of the rules focus on how your character feels about the actions that are happening and less about the success or failure of those actions. A good example of this is games like Monster Hearts, where like the primary resource in that game is social influence over another character, where you gain and spend strings to apply conditions to other characters so that you can have influence over them or gain influence or gain rewards from other people, and the experience mechanic is based on that as well. And there's a lot of games that do that. There's a lot of like story games that really focus on character drama, but Monster Hearts is the one's coming to mind right now.
I think that Nightsun kind of wrote in our show notes here, allowing your inner thespian to go nuts. I think
and getting XP.
Right? I definitely think that the character drama adds a level to the role playing that's really important. It makes you care about the story that you're telling. It makes you care about the characters, and not just your own, but also the other people that are part of your group or your party or your team or whatever it is. There was a Dresden Files game that we were playing where my character and Arez Tiz's characters were besties, and he was playing a vampire, a White Court vampire, and he decided to betray our group. And I remember feeling like legitimate feelings of betrayal, and I was really upset. And like, we were supposed to be best friends, and he just left me there in the middle of a zoo, and it was a little traumatizing. And that's because I really cared about the characters we were playing, and I don't think you can get that without having some type of character drama, building who your character is and interacting with the other characters around you. You get to a point where you actually start to care about these characters, and when someone dies in a game and you're like, fix him or save this person or we need to get to the hospital, and there's that urgency that's real. It's because you love these characters, you care about them, you actually care about who they are and the story that you're telling, and wanting them to survive or not wanting to be betrayed or whatever it is. That's the character drama.
Conflict fleshes out character bonds.
Absolutely.
It does. Like, it's not just about, hey, there's 6 people trying to do this X, Y, and Z thing. Like, that's all fine, and you're going to have character development in that and in the unified direction that you want to all take. But having conflict actually structures a bond.
Yeah.
You just got to be careful that the conflict doesn't overtake the game. Like, you have to strike a balance.
Right.
Right.
Well, you don't want it to always be about, like, these two characters have drama and the whole game is always about their drama.
Yeah.
And, it's still a team. There's still a group of people sitting at a table, but having those moments of character drama adds to the level of role playing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and discussing tone at the beginning of a game can really help with that. Like, how much of this game do we want to be about interpersonal relationships, and managing spotlight, making sure that if your character's been talking for a really long time and it doesn't make sense for your scene to, or maybe you want to pause your scene and check in on the other characters. Sometimes the players are happy, they're enjoying, they're eating popcorn and they're happy to watch and see what's going on. But other times it's your scene is overshadowing everything else that's happening at the table, and it's important as players and as the GM to manage that spotlight, especially when you're doing a game of sort of like character drama where it might just be two characters talking back and forth through each other for a long time. You want to make sure you're balancing that spotlight.
It's like, hey, it becomes the X and Y show, and we're just here watching.
Yeah.
Like, we're not really.
And some people enjoy that, right? Some people are like, oh no, I want to know how this turns out. But you want to make sure that you're checking in with the players and that everyone's having a good time.
You know what? Can I just interject one thing here? This is like the 4th or 5th podcast in a row where Kurt has mentioned Monster Hearts, and none of us have ever played that game. So I think he just really wants to play it.
Well, as we know, the most exciting game is the game that he hasn't played yet.
That is true. But, I mean, I don't know how everyone would feel about playing Teenage Sex Monsters, but, I mean, if you guys want to give it a go, I'm down. If that's what you...
Hendo, you had something?
Yeah, what were you gonna say?
It was just okay. So I am a YouTube aficionado. Okay, that's something that I do. I spend a lot of time on YouTube. I've watched probably every single YouTube video there is.
You know what will help with that?
Don't worry about it, Tyler. So here's the thing. I just want to throw out. I had a foreshadowing of if this channel ever gets any what's the word I'm looking for? Any traction. I just with the way Gidget talks with her hands and gets excited. I had a massive foreshadowing of somebody gifting Gidget.
I can't help it. I talk with my hands. I get excited.
I just had like a full daydream foreshadow of some fan making a 1-minute YouTube video of gifs of Gidget talking to me. So sorry.
Thanks,
I just wanted to forewarn you. When that day happens, just know that I
predicted
fucking
it.
That shit.
Yeah.
Hey Kurt.
Okay.
Hey Kurt. Matt is having daydreams of your wife.
Well, I mean...
It's okay.
what are you going to do, I guess?
All right.
It's everybody's wife and girlfriend.
It's a long
today.
It's a long drive from Michigan. I mean, I'll have some notice, I guess.
I made the drive. I made the trek once, buddy.
You did make the trek once. That's true.
Do not in the chat room was saying. Then you have your Civil War campaign. If the conflict gets too hot, and that's
right.
I mean that's it, right? If you're doing character conflict and the party's gonna split, maybe the game turns into we're gonna have our Civil War game, and it's gonna be about that conflict. Or maybe we're going to hand over 2 character sheets and make 2 new people that fit in this party. I've done both.
I've also done both as a GM and as a player. Sometimes you decide that
you just hand in your GM screen.
Night Sun's character just needs to go off into the sunset and fuck off. and
by sunset you mean volcano?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Or back to the police force, whatever.
Poor Night Sun.
Hey, it's not my fault that I continually make characters that are more interesting as anti-heroes, villains. To go against the party because it's far more interesting that way.
I never
the
looked
party
at
is
the
wrong.
that way.
Which character?
Max.
Our Savage Worlds character.
Gerard?
Gerard.
Yeah.
Well, it's fine.
You were the only one who had a problem, Didge.
Yeah.
The only one. Everyone else loved him.
You and I were just never gonna get along in that game. You had a demon writing in your head, and I was anti-demons. It's just never gonna work.
What are you gonna do?
But as a GM, I did GM a pulp game where we had a player who.
Wait. What's a pulp game?
Pulp is what's set during the World War II Nazis.
Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones pulp.
Perfect.
That's what pulp means. So I was running a pulp campaign or pulp game, and one of our players who was in chat earlier was having an argument with another player, and she decided to shoot him in the face And the conflict that they were having and the argument they were having and the discussion, she was the femme fatale and he was a mobster, and they were verbally battling with each other, and the rest of us at the table were doing the, like, you know, popcorn eating, gotta shut up, quit smiling at me and my hands. Hold on to the desk so I can't talk my no, but they were arguing with each other, and they were having this great fight with each other, and the rest of us at the table were just kind of like, yeah, no, we're fine with staying on this fight, because looking away would be so wrong right now. We want to see what happens. And the result of her shooting him in the face and the conflict that came out of that was so entertaining and so great that it didn't matter that those two players were taking up all of the time for the whole game. Everybody else was enjoying watching, you know, the shit show that was going on between the two of them. So yeah.
Well, and that leads pretty well into our next topic, or our next type of game.
Yeah, so the next one is storytelling, which is more the interactive side of exploration, where you're looking to leave your mark, build a collaborative story. And that's between you, the players, and typically the person who's running the game. So it's a lot less interpersonal and more you and the powers that be trying to build something. Games like Fate, PBTAs, some PBTAs are definitely good for sharing the narrative control on either side. It's less about being part of a story and less listening to a story and more being part of it.
Right. Oh, 10 Candles.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of story games that The Final Girl was 100% this, where you don't even play the same character every scene. You're just trying to tell the most interesting horror movie that you can in 2 to 4 hours. And 10 Candles does the same thing. 10 Candles, you have your own character, but you know that your character's going to die at the end. So the reward of the game is not.
Geez, spoiler.
Well, that's the premise of the game, is that all the characters die at the end. So the reward for playing is not to have your character get cool stuff. It's to see how awesome they were, or how they struggled to survive to that last moment.
Yeah. I think, what is that game that we play at Strategicon every year?
Oh, Fiasco?
Fiasco
is 100% this as well.
A storytelling game where there are dice rolls, but really the whole point is telling the story.
Well, yeah, and the dice are just affecting the scene. Like, how do we frame the scene? What are the like pieces of this scene? How do everything fit together? Like, the dice are more interested in in framing and creating the scene than they are in whether you succeed or fail at your actions.
Right.
Right. Moving right along then, we have puzzle solving. And that can be anywhere from a whodunit mystery, an ingenious trap, or puzzle in the dungeon. And technically, a lot of systems combat is also very puzzle-like.
Yeah, sometimes.
It's not, here's an issue, and you're going to remedy it with, brute force. It's here's a situation, and you need to figure out the best way to resolve it with whatever information you have.
Whenever we talk about puzzles, my mind always goes back to that game where we were in the room and there were squares on the floor, and if everybody moved, it would set fire or electrocute another square in the room, and there were 8 of us in the room, and so if anybody moved, we electrocuted all of our friends. And we had to get to the opposite side of the room to get out of the room. And the whole idea was to try to not kill everyone, trying to get across the room and not electrocute everyone. And there was definitely a pattern, but you don't figure it out till halfway through the room and everyone's half health and, bleeding out of their ears from electrocution or whatever. And it's that every time I think of a puzzle game, that's always the room I think of, where we all almost died being electrocuted by each other.
Yeah, I mean, there's
sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it was one of my favorite things back in the day, but it seems like puzzles have taken a seriously major back backseat.
I was going to say old school D&D was super good with this style of play because. Go ahead.
I was going to say the real problem with designing puzzles is that you can never be sure that someone's going to get it. And so for every puzzle, the kind of the rule of thumb is you design 3 potential ways to get the solution.
Yep.
So that hopefully someone might accidentally stumble on one of them, in worst case scenario. But there is nothing more frustrating than being a group of people sitting at a table going, we're the stupidest people on earth and we can't figure this out. And well, our 4 hours of our night is wasted and we got nothing.
Which is why I'm not doing scavenger hunts for our annual games anymore.
I would say that my GM style is literally nothing but mysteries and puzzles. Like, every game I write is some type of a puzzle that needs to be solved. And it may be a mystery, it may be a scavenger hunt in the game, like, you need to go find all the pieces to this tablet, and when you do, then, you destroy the universe, or it says. But every single game I run...
2 times makes it a habit.
Yeah, that makes it a habit. Every game I run has some form of puzzle mystery built into what it is.
I think so. There's 2 different types of puzzles, right? There's the riddle where the point of tension is lack of information, and there is the like put the pieces together where you have all the information, but it's just the reveal is the point of what to do with, or the mysteries are what to do with the answers, right? Because maybe the answers aren't clear, and so you end up with this, like, the typical trap puzzle room. That's, you are lacking information, right? How do we get the information to solve this puzzle so we don't all die before we get through the door, or drain the room full of water or whatever. But then there's also the like, when I said old school D&D, I mean there's no way we can fight all those orcs, but we still need the gem from the top of the castle that's being guarded by the orcs. Maybe we sneak around. Maybe we use our resources differently, right? Instead of just throwing yourself at the problem, you try to solve it in creative ways. And I think that's another style of puzzle gaming where the problem is laid out, but the solution is not clear, and the way to solve the problem is open-ended. It's not just, all right, fight until you get to the end and you're out of hit points or whatever. Like, you had to use your resources wisely, and I think that can be a really rewarding style of play for some people if that's what you want to get out of it. Because there's very much an adversarial type of role there, where the GM or the person running the game will put in a situation and say, solve my puzzle of how to get the gem out of the orc guarded castle, and then it's how do we use our resources to solve that problem. What's that game? Divinity has thinking of a actual video game that does this. Is there's not like one way to solve most problems in that game. Like, a lot of times you have to use the environment or use different resources wisely, but going into a game that way, you're looking at, rather than just solve my riddle or put these pieces in the right order before you drowned, you're looking at how do we use our resources to solve this conundrum.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like the first Indiana Jones, and then Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. The first one, he had the elements, he just had to put them together, right? And then in the Last Crusade, it was he had to figure out the riddle to solve. Right, so those are the 2. That's all. That's how
Fifth Element is a mystery too. You have to figure out, like, oh, I've got these 4 rocks. What am I supposed to do with them? And then they figure out the puzzle to the room is the elements and that kind of. That's the same. Yeah. And I think a game that we have played that also fits into that is those, like, murder mystery party games where everybody plays a role and you're trying to figure out who the murderer is at the end. Which I think I like those games a lot too.
I think the big difference there is you're using player intelligence versus character like skill and intelligence.
A lot of times, yeah.
Because a lot of times it's how creative can the players be, not, well, roll your intelligence check to see if you can think of a way out of this problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
All right. Well, to finish it out, we have probably the most quoted one, which is escapism. Just the aspect of doing something different than what you do in your daily life.
Mhm.
And there is infinite systems to provide that option. Whether you want high fantasy, futuristic sci-fi, or any combination thereof, or something in between.
Mm-hmm.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say the other part of escapism is don't make me think about I don't want a stressful situation right now. I want to kill things with my sword, or I want to just wander, bumble through this and tell jokes with my friends, right? Like I want to forget my day while I'm playing this game.
Yeah. Like right now, if you said, "Hey, I've got this awesome campaign where you're going to be dealing with a lot of politics and shit in a game," I would say, great. I hope you find players for that game.
Well, and honestly, and Kurt and I talk about this a lot, there are a lot of games that he's interested in that have a lot to do with teenagers and their conflicts within each other. And in my professional capacity, that is not escapism. For what I do in my normal day-to-day job, and I'm not talking about pyro, I'm talking about my normal job.
You light children on fire?
I spend a lot of time around adolescents, and so for me, playing teenagers who are having emotional instability and I don't know, trying to get themselves on probation and hate their parents, it's a little too close to reality for me and isn't escapism. So those games don't tend to appeal to me, not because they're probably not fun, but because it's too close to home.
So Gidget's not going to be playing a lot of Masks or Monster Hearts or Velvet Glove.
Which is why I don't like playing a lot of the serial killers on Dead by Daylight.
Yeah, sure.
Just too much like real life.
Too much like real life, guys.
So this is a lot like the dude that owns the lawn care company that when you go by his house has got the long grass, or the construction worker who you go by it and see a lot of the work he's done and it's fantastic, but you drive by his house and his deck isn't finished.
Right. Absolutely.
Do you typically cruise by workers' houses?
Well, that's a common trope, right? The mechanic's car is always broken.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you're trying to do there, Orestes, but it's not gonna work.
But yeah, I mean that's exactly it. It's finding those things that make you feel different than what your day-to-day life is, whether that's being a hero, being an anti-hero, being really supportive to your teammates, whatever, being the person that's emotionally available for everyone, that you're the team mom, whatever the thing is that makes you feel at the least like your normal day-to-day life, that would be your escapism.
Yeah. Well, and where Night Sun began this was on setting, is you want something that's completely different from your daily life, right? Like you're not going to want to play a Vampire the Masquerade game set in modern day where you're doing a lot of politics stuff. You want to play a game that's set in the far future, the distant past, or out in space somewhere. Anything to keep it away from what like real life is for you. So, and I mean, there are tons of games that do this. If you're looking for something that doesn't stress you out, obviously don't just try to pick a setting that you like, and try to pick one that doesn't focus on the types of interactions that are hard on you. Let's see. How do not says, how about preteens, Gidget? Tales from the Loop, kids on bikes, Dungeons and Demogorgons, a bit more narrative and wonderment, and less angst and self-consciousness.
What's interesting about that is a lot of the type of games I enjoy running, besides Pulp, which is my absolute favorite kind of game to run, is games where you play kids. So Grimm is one of my favorite settings. I ran a Willy Wonka game where all of my players were kids running around Willy Wonka's factory, and so it's not the immaturity that bothers me. It's the angst part that is hard. It's the over emotional part that's hard. And it's not that I don't enjoy those games. It's I think the more the more difficult a week I had with real life teens, the less I want to pretend to be around other teenagers in a game.
Right. Make the game about fun.
Yeah.
And you're okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, great. I mean, I think we did a pretty thorough discussion on what you could get out of role-playing, the different aspects that kind of fit into that. Does anybody have any kind of final thoughts on this topic before we start to wrap it up for tonight?
I would say if you want, why don't you go back over just real quick, Night Sun, just every topic that we hit on.
Sure. Anyways, no, I do think there's some value in the future of coming back and kind of addressing, now that you might have your players identify what they're interested, what they identify as interesting, how to accommodate each of these kind of folks when you have a group of 6 people at your table and none of them like the same thing.
Right. Well, and a lot of games will handle 3 or 4 of these, pretty well. And like maybe they're really good at 1 or 2, but they're gonna do everything, and maybe one session you don't engage the rules as hard because you really want to get that puzzle in there for the guy that loves puzzles, or you really want to get the character drama in there on one session, and so you don't engage the rules as hard that night. Mm-hmm. But having a discussion with your players and having a discussion with your GM at the beginning of a game, talking about what do we want this to be about, what do I get out of gaming, what do I like in gaming.
Well,
and making sure that's there.
It's a very small thing, and I just don't think it's something that really folks used to think about, and now people are kind of thinking about it, is if you're a GM and you're going to craft the setting rather than play a mod, like don't craft your game until after you've had a conversation with your players. Find that stuff out, and then craft the game around that.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Don't just plop them into the world you've created. Find out, get those nuances ahead of time and craft your world around.
Someone mentioned something in their backstory. There's like, wow, that's really interesting, and that kind of fits into this. Let's do something that way, and then you are keying into this person wants to tell a story or whatnot. Then,
yeah,
right, absolutely. I think any good, decent GM is able to take multiple of these elements and kind of craft them together in a campaign so that, like Kurt was saying, maybe this game we have 3 combats and the next game we don't have any combats and we have a lot of role-playing, or maybe we have 1 combat and a puzzle and a lot of character development. I mean, you kind of jump around to the different aspects so that no matter what kind of players you end up with, you're feeding whatever it is that's their part of the game that's fun. And maybe there's this game I don't have as much fun because it's a combat simulator, but Night Sun and Areztez are having a great time because it is. And the next game, maybe they're a little bored because I keep talking to all the shopkeepers and we're gonna have a shopping episode. But you
just want a pretty dress. I understand.
I just want a pretty. Oh Jesus, that was the worst game. Anyway, let's not talk about that game. That was awful. But no, I mean that's the thing. Like if you're playing in a long running game and you've got a lot of people sitting at your table with a lot of different styles that they enjoy, as a GM, just try to work them all together so that at least every other session everybody's having fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they're kind of fun.
And I think at some point in the future we should talk about the session 0 and how important it is to build characters as a group and to get consensus and build that social contract. I mean, we've talked about social contracts, but just what should you know going into a session 0 and what should you look to come out of it with? But
absolutely. Well, we are a little over time, so I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Handor, have you written us an outro? And your podium is gone.
And his podium is gone. Well,
not quite out of frame, but
not quite.
If you enjoyed the show, definitely give us a follow up there above you. If you're on YouTube watching this, give us a subscribe, which is probably down here somewhere in one of these boxes. If you'd like to contact the show, you can email us at pixelscandal@gmail.com, or you can hit us up on Twitter at pixelscandal, all one word. And we would love to hear from you. We'll talk about your stuff on the show, or join us in chat. Thank you to everyone who joined us in chat tonight. This was fun.
Thanks for hanging out with us, guys.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Farewell.
Bye. Love you.